Okay, a question that I get from a ton of you is, where do I start if I want to start a podcast? And I love when answers are simpler than we expect them to be. So I want to tell you about a resource that's changed the game for us with our podcast, and that is Spotify for Podcasters. If you want to start your own podcast, Spotify has a platform that makes it so easy. You upload your episodes and then Spotify actually distributes it everywhere onto all platforms and even helps you earn money so that it can be profitable for you and a blessing for you, your family, your people. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit your podcast literally from your phone or your computer. So if you don't have a fancy setup, it's okay. You can immediately get started today. Then again, you distribute it to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are available. You can also do video podcasts, which sounds like a dream to me. And when you want to take conversations with your people to the next level, you can do Q&A and polls, all sorts of fun things. You can earn money with ads and podcast subscriptions, or you can just get started using what you've got for the good of others and the glory of God. Check out Spotify for Podcasters. I use it. I love it. I highly recommend it. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app. I have it on my phone, highly suggest, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started today.
Friends, and we really do mean it when we say friends. We are so excited to be launching a brand new podcast series today, Friendship for Real Women.
We know that we're created for community, but so many of us are struggling to experience abundance in our relationships, and we want to talk about why.
We're praying these episodes leave you encouraged and feeling equipped to actually enjoy your relationships a little bit more.
Listen in, maybe even tell a friend about this series, and let's see what God might do in our relationship as we dig in.
Okay, friends, I'm here with my friend, Carla Haskins. I'm smiling. You can't even see me because she literally is like one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. I'm not just saying that. It's not cliche. I actually dearly I'm endeared to this woman. Carla, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're so amazing?
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me to talk about our friendship. But who am I? I'm Carla Haskins. There's so many things about me. I don't even know where to start. I'm married to an amazing guy. I live in Texas now. I've relocated back to Texas.
Not only are you living in Texas, but you are from
I
Texas.
am from H-Town.
And not only are you from, that's right, not only are you from Texas, but you are from.
Right. Where all the baddies are from Houston. Beyonce.
Right.
Megan Thee Stallion. Lizzo be eating. If you're listening to Toby, and is it Ngwe or whatever, him and his wife, Toby calls me fat. I mean, everybody amazing is from Houston. So I think that's enough of an introduction. I'm amazing. Yeah. But no, I'm in an incredible season of life. I think it's challenging for everybody in its own way for everyone. So it's amazing, but it's also challenging, but exciting. I finally fulfilled, honestly, a lifelong dream of, I started graduate school. I am studying clinical mental health counseling, and I am so fulfilled with this journey and this process. I'm learning so much, and I'm looking forward to becoming a therapist in a couple of years or so. So,
which is like,
bravo me, yay me. Not to make this all about, this will be my last Beyonce reference, but it taking lemons of this season and making lemonade. So I'm excited.
Speaking of lemons, I think sometimes in the context of this conversation that is friendship, sometimes our friendships taste a little bit like lemons.
They can.
Right? Like They can. I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot, which is one of the reasons we thought that this series would be helpful, beneficial, and would feel supportive to a lot of the women out there, because we talk a lot about, I think, like, that's my BFF, or who says that really anymore, I guess. Maybe some people too. At 42, I'm not saying that, but I will say like she's a real one, or like she's a real friend, a real person, a real true authentic person that I can connect with and feel safe around. But I think that we harp a lot, or we talk a lot. I shouldn't say we harp, but we talk a lot about the good things in general, but specifically within friendships and relationships. I feel like we spend a lot of time wanting to feel good and having this expectation that like it's just always going to be good. So I think one of the things that we really want to dive into today and throughout the series is kind of exploring some of those areas of friendship that we don't talk about publicly a lot. You know, we also want to answer questions like, you know, how can we be better supportive friends? Like, how can we support our friends through hard seasons? What does it look like? Some of the things that we'll talk about today. What does it look like to walk through conflict with friends that you love dearly? All those things. So we can take the bitter with the sweet, but sometimes things are really bitter. And I don't think that we have to sustain that type of feeling in relationships sometimes. You know, we got to know when to call it quits as well. So we'll talk about some of that too. I really admire you as a person who holds strong to her boundaries and someone who understands the importance of boundaries.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it's kind of weird being in this space with you because it's like, I don't have to, but you know, like this is a structured conversation in some regard. Like we're going to be ourselves and it's going to be loose and all those things, but also like we want to make sure that we're hitting some points that are going to be helpful. So
yeah, we are here to serve.
So I think one of the first things I want to talk about is just our friendship. So being personal or getting personal and how our friendship has evolved or developed over the years. How long have we been friends? I think I have an idea in my head, but
that's a great question. How long have we known each other? And then when did we actually become friends?
We've known each other for a really long time.
Because I knew you before you guys moved back to Hawaii, right?
Yes. Which was literally 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago.
Yeah. So I think that's a good approximate of how long we've known each other.
Why does that make me emotional?
Everything makes you emotional. I was waiting for it. I mean, I knew it was coming. Like,
you know, I'm going to cry. Like everybody who's listening out there, I'm going to cry a lot. This is a really, I love this woman, and this is a really like important topic. So anyway, just get ready. They're going to come. The tears are coming. But so we've known each other for almost 14 years, but we have been friends for only a few years.
Yeah.
And obviously even the definition of, I think in this relationship, like it has evolved, right? Like,
I think we're several years in, you know me, few is like 3 to 4. I think we're in the several range.
Okay. So like more than 4?
More than 4, less than 6.
Okay. I'm with you on that. So yeah, so just like as we have gotten to know each other better and our lives have shifted and changed and morphed according to family, life situations, work, all these things, our friendship has evolved. But what I think is so beautiful, this is the part where the tears come, is you're like bracing yourself too, because you know what, Carla, you cry too. So
don't put me in this. Like,
but what I think is so beautiful, and what I think is so beautiful about good friendship and healthy friendship, is the ability that I see that we have had to hold on in the midst of hard things, in the midst of hard seasons and moves. You moving from Seattle, which is where we were together, where I am now, to where you are in Houston, like making it work. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, but.
Yeah, I think, you know, I wasn't prepared for you to ask the question, you know, how long have we been friends? But I think it's an obvious question, but
yeah,
it immediately made me think about our journey, because I think there is a conception about women and, you know, women are instant friends. And that wasn't the case for us. I mean, we were in the same circles and we knew a lot of the same people and we were absolutely socially cordial, like all those things. But the development of a friendship, that's a whole different process. And I'm mindful of something my mother said to me when I was in high school. She's like, baby, when you get my age, if you can count your friends on one hand, you're doing great. Like your real friends on one hand, you're doing great. And that has proven to be true. But it's not that I didn't like you. and not that you didn't like me, but to call each other friends in a culture where, you can get a friend in 5 seconds on social media, the development of true, deep friendship, it takes time, just like, any intimate relationship. When it's real and it's authentic, it takes time. And so, you meet a lot of people, and it takes interaction and it takes conflict sometimes to develop real, authentic, relationships. So yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, those people that you meet and you're instantly quote unquote friends. But, in our season of life and at these ages, I think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, it didn't start out that way. We just kind of, yeah, it developed.
This whole idea of like meeting someone and, for lack of a better way of saying it, like making the assumption that they are going to be a friend who is either long term or committed or dedicated or integrous or, fill in the blank with whatever, is a really interesting thought. Because I think when I'm 42 now, and so let's just call it when I was 30, the way I saw friendship then is obviously not the way that I see friendship now. And I think that when I think about the 30-year-old Kennesha, I think, wow, I really thought everybody was a friend.
Yeah.
Which actually saying that out loud blows my mind, because I'm like, 42-year-old Kennesha was staring at the 30-year-old Kennesha thinking you were insane, right? Like everybody, and my grandmother, like old Southern Black grandmother wisdom is like, everybody's not your friend.
Everybody not your friend. No.
Not everyone has the best intention, right, for you. Not everyone loves you. So, and it also in this world where we toss around, not only through social media, but, in all of our different spheres, like this word, we toss around the word, hey, friend, love you, friend. It's like, do we actually know what that means? And I think that, again, I have a different idea about this word, friend.
Same,
and what it actually means. And I love that now I get to, number one, I get to more than ever choose, and also recognize that I have a choice of who I allow into my space and who I allow into my network, right? But I also love the idea of this evolving, and like that I'm okay with that, because I think that, maybe that's wisdom, just growth or whatever. But like at 30, I don't think I was patient enough. And I don't think I love myself enough. I don't know. I want to hear what you have to say about this. But like, I don't think I love myself enough to even understand the value in the waiting as far as a friendship was concerned. And like that it's okay for it to marinate. It's okay for it to evolve. It's okay for it to take time, because all good things take time.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought. I think what makes our friendship great is that we are different in awesome ways. And at 30, for me, I had just moved to Seattle and left everybody that I knew and loved in Houston, and was settling in a new city with literally no friends, no network. But I was, to a degree, really okay with that, because I was coming from Houston where, like, again, all my friends were. But I think I mentioned this to you one time and you were like, really? I have the same best friend that I've had since 5th grade that grew up on the next street and who would hop the fence. You met her. Yeah.
Yes. Cheryl.
Yeah. 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 And so we're still friends. I mean, we've known each other since really elementary, middle school years of our lives. And it's a good example because, not everybody that was your friend for those years are you still in friendship with, but a friendship being able to be maintained across, thousands of miles and decades and seasons and marriage and babies and relocation. I am accustomed to them, and my personality prefers the marinated process, which is why I'm a hard friendship nut to crack. Probably, I would love to hear your perspective.
I will attest to that. That is the truth.
And it's the first time I've actually had to think about it. When I was thinking about our conversation, I was thinking, yeah, like I'm like, we're cool. Like, you're awesome. Hey girl, how you doing? Da, 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 da. But like, I truly feel like, and this about me now, once you're my actual friend, like there's no shaking me. Like I I got you, like I'm loyal. And I don't give that away because it is an investment and it's an intentional investment on my part. I'm committed to praying for you, encouraging you. And listen, if you need those babies to fly to Houston for a couple of weeks, I got them. My husband and I will love them like they're our own. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think for
Yes.
me, I have somehow known that friendship is not something that I really haven't ever taken lightly. So there are acquaintance level people and I love you and that's great. But when you're my friend, it's hard to shake me. I mean, you have to really, you know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of stuck with me now.
Yeah.
But it took us a long time to get to this space and that's okay. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that's okay. And also no diss to anyone who's not wired that way, right? Like
right. No.
Everybody has their way and what they need. And that's what works for
and
you
to
and
your
for me.
credit, because of who you are, like the generous, open, like loving, amazing
No.
person that you are, you, for whatever reason, stuck with it. And not that I'm not trying to make it sound like an obstacle course, but it just life evolved and yeah, we are here, but it wasn't like, ooh, I'm going to make Kennesha my best friend, because you are the kind of person that anybody would want to be honestly close friends with because you're incredible that way. But I'm just not like I'm good. Like I would be the person to be like, my friend circle is awesome. Like I'm good for the rest of my life.
And not to dismiss also like just the divine in that, as in God, his hand in orchestrating a lot of those different areas.
Right.
So, you touched on or alluded to something else I would love to talk about that I think is kind of a hot topic in this conversation, which is conflict in relationships. And I wouldn't say that we've had our fair share of conflict. Like we've had so much. I don't think it's that way because I feel like, especially as I've gotten older, and probably for you as you've gotten older too, like I just don't have time, energy, and space for that in my life in general. But we have had a couple of times where we've disagreed on some things, which I said this to you earlier when we were talking about this conversation, and I think it's worth repeating. But, I don't want a friendship or relationship where I'm not able to be corrected or someone can't bring something to me that was offensive or hurtful or that where I overstepped a boundary. Those are not the kinds of relationships I want in my life currently. Maybe when I was 20, like I would be like, oh, we're cool, right? Like I don't want any conflict. Now it's not the time because I know that conflict, it can bring restoration, it can be restorative, and it also refines. So bring on the conflict as far as I'm concerned, which again, I know is not everyone's personality, but our conflict, I do recall one time, but I'm going to bring this question to you or throw it at you. Do you recall a time that we had conflict and we had to work something out and come to a resolution on? I'll share first. So there was a time like a few years ago when Carla, no.
So we doing that. Okay.
No, and they're being very surface with the, no, it's cool. Yeah, you totally do. And so do I. This is something I also learned from you. But there was an issue that we had where something was communicated and I honestly didn't even think about it. It was kind of flippant, which is not necessarily the most responsible way to communicate things. And I moved on. And I crossed a boundary for you. I wasn't aware of that. And so we had to have a conversation about that boundary that was crossed. And I remember being extremely nervous because I had come from these experiences where a lot of relationships, usually I was the one talking to people about a boundary they crossed. It was very rare that someone would come to me and tell me that I crossed a boundary, which
I didn't know
actually, that. Yeah. And which now that I'm saying it actually makes me feel like it made our relationship stronger and it created a bond from me to you that is almost like it's not breakable, which is why I think I say that conflict is refining because I'm back. this is going to sound weird, but I feel like in some regard, like I am bound to you even more because of situations and things like that. So anyway, there was a boundary. I crossed it. I got my hand slapped and
It was a loving tap.
No, but it was a respectful conversation. And I think I cried, not because like you hurt my feelings, but just because like those tears were more like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't believe that I didn't consider you in this way, So.
Yeah, it's funny because when I think about it, it was a decision point for me.
I'm like, okay, wait, there's another situation. There's something else.
There was something else. Yeah.
Oh.
But in this one, which I'll tell you about that.
Oh,
I wasn't thinking about the one that you're talking about.
Okay.
I'll share the one that I was thinking about. But in the one that you just mentioned, I remember it because it was a decision point for me. And I'm a processor. So sometimes I'll tell you in the moment, depending on what the situation is, but my normal way of dealing with conflict is I process and then I decide sometimes how I'm going to, handle it. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going to give this energy. I just think about it. In this particular situation, it was when I made an intentional decision that I hope this doesn't sound weird. I cared enough about you and our budding or our friendship that I wanted to talk it through because I didn't want to make any assumptions. And the assumption that I did make though was that you had not intentionally tried to do that and that you did not intentionally want to hurt me. But I knew that if our friendship was going to continue to develop, then you needed to have intimate knowledge of my boundaries in that way. Because for me, if I invite you into my life, I need to feel as a friend that you are also going to protect me when I'm not around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, I've never put language to that before,
yeah,
but
I love that.
For me, that's how robust friendship is to me. It's not just, oh, that's my friend. It's when I'm not around, can I trust you to protect me and my boundaries? And you know enough about me to know what's important to me that you cover me in that way. And so the hand slapping, as you call it, wasn't necessarily even about that, but it was about, hey, I need you to know this about me as a woman who is my friend. I need you to know this about how I regard my home, my family, the people that are close to me. And if we're going to do this friendship thing, then these are kind of some boundaries that are really important to me. And I wanted to talk it through. And you were amazing.
Oh, thanks. I do love that. I think that, the one point that you made where you said, like, if we're going to be friends, like, I need you to know this about me. And I feel like that could almost be like a book, like we could talk about that or at least another whole episode by itself. But I think there is something valuable in that. Takes vulnerability as well, though, as, because
for sure,
I think that a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, like, in the past, I've held in those things, right? And I've not communicated those boundaries. And usually, all the therapy tells me that, typically in a relationship, when you're feeling angst or tension or anger or whatever the emotion is, it's typically because someone's crossed a boundary that you haven't communicated. So what would end up happening is, in the past, I would not communicate a boundary. Someone would cross it. I would make whatever assumption that they just somehow were supposed to magically know. And then here we are, we're at this crossroads in the relationship where it either ends or we're just stiff-arming each other, right?
Or we're fake, which
100%, which is not even acceptable any longer.
No.
We're just not doing that anymore. So yeah, I think that moment for sure was like a really beautiful moment in our relationship. And I would say pivotal moment in the sense that we were able to find resolution, obviously, which was huge.
Yeah. It also makes me think, like, you said something to me about the whole boundaries thing, like my personal journey of, finding my voice and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a lifelong journey of boundaries because I come from a family that's almost, I swear, like a tribe. And I'm the youngest of 7 kids. And, the boundaries were, it's of course you're going to do everything the family wants, of course. So trying to navigate my space as a woman and developing all of my relationships, boundaries have become like this thing for me that where I have to be okay with, risking communicating my boundaries and saying, okay, what's more important? This boundary is really important to me, and I don't want to
forfeit that.
Yeah, I don't want to forfeit that. And that is at my own expense, and who I am and my life is really important to me. And the people that, are supposed to be in my life that God is giving me, they will respect those. And if they can't, then I have to be okay with risking losing people because they don't understand or respect my boundaries. So that's what that moment was also about for me. It was more
a
about
test.
Yeah, it was.
You were testing me.
No, it was more about.
She's shaking her head. But wait, what? No.
It was more about me genuinely having the courage to communicate that something happened, affected me in a way because I care about you. So it was a bunch of stuff happening, right? For me and for you. And so it just became kind of this perfect storm of, I had some individual and some personal learning that happened. You had some personal learning that happened. And, and then the fruit of that is, we got
is this
a lemonade of a place where our friendship could go to more authenticity, more sincerity, more honesty, more depth. And that was,
One other part of this piece of the conversation that I'd like to underscore is where you spoke about finding value enough in the relationship or in the person that you would want to bring this to the person. And I think that is very important as well for a lot of us, because this is a really hot topic, especially right now, I think culturally, where, we talk about like the cancel culture and everything. I think it's really important that we define like what's worth it and who's worth it. And not saying like, in the sight of God, like as image bearers, like everybody's worth it to God, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But like as far as a relationship is concerned with another human being, and in this sense, woman to woman, I think that it's really important that we're able to define what value even looks like to us, and whether it actually is healthy even sometimes for us to approach certain situations, or sometimes to pull back, sit back and watch and allow things to just fall where they may, if you will. So
absolutely. Yeah. And there's great risk in, vulnerability, honesty, and, you're never going to know where a relationship or a friendship is going to take you sometimes if there's not healthy conflict. And are we able to work through that? It wasn't a test, but it was because I was like, she's either going to be okay with me communicating something that's important to me, or she won't be. And we will have hit a ceiling, and that would have been okay too. It didn't mean that I wasn't going to continue to be cordial or whatever, but
right.
Yeah, the richness.
I'm so glad it didn't. I'm so glad.
Me too.
I'm so glad.
Well, I think that's a testament to who you are. And I think it's also a risk that I was willing to take, because I did evaluate it. Like, I'm like, do I have the energy?
Yeah.
Honestly, and
this was before COVID. So it had, honestly, if this has happened like 2019, 2020, 2021, we may not have made it.
Girl, bye. No. Would not have made it. Never would have made it.
Just so we have context, this is pre-COVID.
Yes.
I'm already exhausted.
Yeah.
Season.
Yeah. But it is an energy it was an energy evaluation for me, because I knew that if I did this, then it means, okay, then I want to carry on. Like, I want to continue. So
yeah.
I know that sounds calculated, but
it's okay. Okay, so practicalities.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you want to hear the other story that I was thinking of?
I actually do. Oh my gosh, I'm kind of scared.
It's kind of silly. Do you remember this time these people are going to think I'm nuts. Do you remember when we were neighbors, like literal, like 2 doors down from each other?
Yeah, one door.
One door down.
One house between us, yeah.
And do you remember the day you showed up at my house unannounced?
I kind of do. I think, was I with my sister-in-law or?
No, that was planned. It was before that.
Oh, no, I remember. You know what? I totally forgot about this.
And I forgot about the other one. That's so crazy. But I didn't, like, she showed up at my house unannounced. I need to tell her. We don't do
this.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And I remember being offended. Because I remember thinking, like, not offended, like pissed, but like,
is she for real?
Oh, yeah. I was like, is she for real? I was like, first of all, my actual thoughts, which we have not talked about this, everybody.
We have not.
But my actual thoughts were like, we're from the South. Like, this is how I grew up. Like, culturally, you know, like you just, and to be honest, I was like, we're the only Black women in the neighborhood. You know, I'm like, you're my person. Like, and you were still like, I don't do this. This is not what we do. I was like, okay, noted. Text Carla before I knock on her door. But also the neighborhood we lived in, though, you almost had to do that on top of, I understand it, obviously now, not that I even need to understand it at all ever because it's a boundary, but like, I get it. Then I didn't get it, but I get it now. Yeah.
I was like, so I was super surprised that you would even want to be my friend because I think I'm like, look, we're not in Texas or Alabama or Louisiana. Like, we are in straight up Washington State. And nah.
Around here,
we
just can't do that.
We can't do that.
It's all good. It's all good.
So anyway, when you were thinking, I was thinking conflict. Oh, I remember. Because it was the first one for me where I was like, okay, I'm going to have to tell her. Like,
I totally forgot all about that. Because it wasn't, I mean, it was a deal, but it wasn't like, the other one for sure was bigger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So funny. Okay, so learning, things I've learned, things you've learned. I want to talk about things I've learned from you. I'll go first. Is this pressure?
No.
I have learned so much from you. I think I have learned stick-to-itiveness, as in, like, you've taught me a lot about what that means, about what integrity means, about honor. I mean, like, the actual word and what it actually means, honoring someone, honoring a person, a human, honoring a relationship, a friendship. I think that they're, strength, like that one makes me cry.
Okay, now you're about to get me.
You know, like, I think that that can look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people, right? Just that word strength. Mm-hmm. And if I'm really honest with myself, like when I think about you and your proximity to me, like, I don't think I understood how robust strength could be until my relationship with you. I don't have the time or the space to really break that down, nor do I really need to be that vulnerable in this space. But I think I'm thankful to you for showing me what it looks like to, like, hold a lot of different things at one time. And to hold, like, a lot of good things and a lot of hard things all together at one time, but also, like, keep my eye and my heart and my soul anchored and focused on the one thing that matters, which is my faith in Jesus. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a huge compliment. Thank you for saying that. And now I've caught the Kennesha bug.
I told you guys.
Because what's most significant to me more than anything on this earth is that, you know, this is the Go and Tell Gals podcast, and I want my life to preach a life of faith in Jesus at all times. And it's easy to have faith when things are going good. But if faith in Jesus doesn't work when times are hard, you know, what are we doing? Like, what's happening here? Is this ritual or is this real? And one of the things that I've learned from you, because we're different in terms of our personalities, is how to be, you are fully yourself. And, you know, I had to unlearn only showing parts of myself to certain people because I crave emotional and psychological safety so much. And there are so few places in this culture, in this society, for Black women to be fully ourselves, that as a coping mechanism, I learned very early in life to hold places for myself,
Mm-hmm.
And that's nobody's fault. But what I've had to unlearn is to just be fully myself at all times. And I learned that partially from you. Like I would be around you and having an internal conversation with myself, like,
This girl is
this
crazy.
girl's crazy. Seriously, because we're real friends and I can tell you that. But I was secretly curious, because I'm not going to use the word envious because I wasn't, but I was secretly curious, like, how does she do that? And it encouraged me and inspired me at the same time.
Mm.
I can't say that for, I'm being, I'm not going to lie to you anyway, but I can't say that about any other friendship in my life. And I so appreciate that about you. And you have helped me come out of that shell a little bit, because I'm a true introvert. And I so appreciate that. I know what I'm going to get from you. I'm going to get sunshine and
Goofy.
giggles and silliness. And there's a part of me that is so that way, but only certain people get to see it. But I love that you just give everybody all the things, all of you.
Yeah.
And I love and appreciate it so much.
When you say that only certain people get to see it, like, I just wish everybody could see that, because that, like, not that I'm like always goofy. I love to laugh. Anybody who knows me knows that. So, like, I'm going to take it from you. Like,
For sure.
even in the hardest, and we've had some really hard conversations, and you've walked with me through some hard seasons. And, like, even in the midst of those moments, sometimes I'm like, we got to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, we got to find something in here that just releases some serotonin. And yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And one of my favorite persons to laugh with is you.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the same about you, because I'm like, this girl. I love it.
It's my favorite.
You're invitational in it's just, I hate to sound cliche, but it's pretty contagious
Oh, thank you, friend.
when you're being silly. The longer I'm friends with you, I don't even hesitate anymore.
I love it.
So it's great.
Well, we could obviously talk for another hour because, we're good at that. But this has been one of the most refreshing conversations I've had on this podcast for obvious reasons. We would love if you would pray for our women, for our girls, and specifically, obviously as you're led, but then also just thinking in the vein of this conversation about friendships and relationships, because I think especially, over the past couple of years with COVID, so many areas have been strained, but I think specifically this one is one that so many of us have stress in or stress attached to. So
Yeah, thank you for that invitation. And I'd love to pray for friendships. And I do want to say this, that I think that I would love to encourage women to push through hard things in friendships. And obviously you can't do that with everybody, right? Everybody can't be your best friend or your closest friend. But when I was thinking about the opportunity to pray for women, I've always loved this scripture. Can I share a verse?
absolutely.
And I will read it in a couple of versions, just because, every version has its own way that I'm a words girl, just like you are. But I love this verse in Proverbs 27:6. And I'm sure you've heard it before, but in the New Living Translation, which I rarely read from, but I love it the way it says, wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy.
Wow.
And I absolutely love that verse. The way that I memorized it, I think, was in the NIV, which faithful are the wounds of a friend.
Yeah.
But I also want to read it in the Passion Translation, which 27:6 in the Passion is my favorite. Okay, here it is. You can trust a friend who wounds you with his honesty, but your enemy's pretended flattery comes from insincerity.
Wow.
Isn't that so
What,
good?
that's the Passion Translation? Of
Yes.
course it is.
Proverbs 27:6. You can trust a friend who wounds you with his honesty, but your enemy's pretended flattery comes from insincerity.
Taking that with me for the rest of my life.
Exactly. Right? It's so good. And like, I don't know if you love me if you can't be honest with me. And that's the gift that I want to give my friends is honesty. Not only do I want to give it, but I want it back.
Yeah.
So thank you for being a friendship that allows me to be honest. And thank you for being an honest friend.
100%. Always and forever. Until we go to heaven and die together, and then we'll be together in heaven.
See, you guys, this is what I'm talking about. Extra, all caps, bolded, italicized, all that in one. Thank you for
Let's
having
pray.
me. Let me pray for the women. Jesus, I thank you that you are first the friend that sticks closer than any brother. And you are the template. You are the pattern that we can follow for being great friends. And I just thank you for who you are to us individually, but then also that your guidance and your pattern and your love and your deep, sincere friendship. I pray that it would inspire every woman listening to be a friend who sticks closer than a brother through the good times, through the bad times, through the highs and through the lows, and that we will become places of love and safety and sincerity in our friendships one to another, because we follow you and we want to live that out on earth just as it is in heaven. And we love you so much. I just pray a blessing on all the friendships, all the women who are listening to this podcast. I pray they're inspired by your love and your grace and your truth to be the friends to each other that you have called us to be. And we love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Carla, thank you so much for just being a friend and for being is it weird to say a friend to the women today as well?
Oh,
Even though we discussed what friend really means, but we'll just go with that today.
I think they're friends.
No, seriously, you are a treasure. And I mean that. I mean that. I mean that you are a treasure to me. And now you get to be that to other people.
Thank you for
that listen to this podcast. They're in this community. So I'm thankful for you.
I'm thankful for you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. We are grateful that you were able to listen in. If you loved this episode, would you do us a favor and leave a review so other friends can find this episode? We pray it encouraged you and left you feeling equipped to run on mission right where you're at. We're super grateful for you, and we will see you next week.